Here we go, Livy again, Book 1, Chapter 21. Ad hac. As we know, ad takes the accusative, so that's a neuter plural. So to these things were the consultanda and procuranda, the gerundive form here. So they were consulting or thinking about it a lot, basically, and procuring. That's just cura with a pro in front of it, and so you can just say they were taking care of these type of matters, that all their cares and plans were for it. Now we're going to the ablative multitudine omne avi et armis conversa. So to these things were conversa, things were turned, and we have a multitude here, so it's the singular form of a lot of people. So all these people were AV, means from force, and arms, were they conversa. So omni multitude means all of the people. They were turned from the force and battles to taking care of these type of things. And enemi, this is their minds or their hearts sort of things. They were occupata erant. It's periphrastic, it just means it's in two parts there. So they were occupied, plural, with something aliquid. And agendo is another gerund. This would be the ablative form. So in the doing of or participating in something. So their minds are occupied in this doing something, which had turned all the multitude away from their force and arms to taking care of these things to do with the gods, basically, at the end of chapter 20. And deorum adsidua incidens cura. And this is the present participle incidens. There's insidio in the E family, and there's another one. They basically mean the same thing. I might inspect it closer as a daily dictionary. Anyway, the assidua means continual or sidious cura, cares, occupying their mind. We all have occupada, so he's used incidens here. This was in their minds, and deorum is the genitive of the gods. So the minds were all occupied with the doing of these sort of things, and they had assiduous or continual cares of that they were besieged with, basically, in their brains. They were occupied with this stuff of the gods. Cum interesse, this is intersum in the infinitive form. Rebus humanus, human things. Caeleste numen videretur. And it seemed, videritor, the numen, this is like the godheads and God's power. Caeleste, from the heavens, they seem to be intersumed, interesse. They seem to be these heavenly matters. Remember, the humans are all taking care of the things to do with the gods, and it seemed that the gods themselves, their numen from heaven, was participating or interesse in rebus humanus, in human matters. Ea pietate, this sort of piety was imbuerated in the pectora omnium, in the chest literally, or the hearts of all. So all their hearts are imbued with this kind of piety. With is taking the ablative in pietat. Ut fides, so that fides, that's loyalty and trust, etc. And usurandum, this is swearing of oaths. Proximos in brackets. Legum and poenarum metu civitatem. So they were regeranting. They were ruling this civitate, which is the state. This is comparative in the ablative. Then by fear of laws and punishments. So seems to be one long sentence there, but it's simple if you separate in the little parts and little clauses. But so it looks like fides in the swearing of oaths, they were ruling the citizenry or the state, rather than the ablative, the fear of laws and punishment, the proximo. Okay, so if we look at the participles of incidens, the first one is the version with eo. So they all mean sitting down, adhering to, being situated in, and the incido without the e. They both have ablatives in I, which are pure adjectives, and the participle is always in e. So this here is sitting, occupying, penetrating, merging into, taking possession of, all those sorts of things. Okay. Et cum, and when, Ipsi se homines, these are men themselves, in regis velut, as if in this one example of the king, basically, they were formoranting their mores. Formorant's a verb. They were forming their mores, which are their habitual customs, etc. They were doing it velut, as if it was in the following the example, singular, of their king. Then the finitimi etiam populi, then the neighbouring people even, etiam would be even, finitai means at the end of the boundary, so these are neighbouring people. Qui, this regards to the people, making a relative out of them. These people who antia before are castra and non urbem positum in medium. So before they thought it was camps, are not a city which had been positammed in there, which had been placed in the middle of their lands. So these people before thought it was a camp, not a city. This would be where the Romans are. And they creditoranted ad solicandum omnium pacem. And they believed this was a worry or something to the peace of all of them. Pacem omnium. This here would be another gerundive, going with feminine of that, possibly. So they were believing that this was a camp previously, which was vexing all of them, which was placed in the middle of them, in the middle of their regions, and not a city. But in eam vericundim adducti sunt. They were adducti sunted, so they were led to thinking that this city was revericundiam, something to be more venerated or revered, or so ut civitatem totem. So the whole state was versam, versed in cultam deorum. So they were basically living in praise of the gods and the customs of the gods, and they were ducerent. They were led to believe that to violare would be nefas. So to violate such a city so devoted to the gods would be nefas, which is an indeclinable word. It means it's not thought of as a good thing in the sight of the gods. Lucas erat, there was a grove. Quem, the grove's now in the accusative by quem. Fons means a spring. So there was a grove which a spring, perenni, a perennial spring, means it flows all year round, which from a dark, opaco is an adjective, means dark, which from the middle of a specus is a cave, which, so this perennial spring, irrigated, rigobated with water, this Lucas, this grove, which was medium in the middle. Okay, so we had the spring coming through the middle of the grove, and I'll set up the daily dictionary word. We had a little grammar thing on the participle of in sedans earlier. Opacus, opaca, opacum, shaded, darkened in the shade, shady, dark, casting shade. Okay, quo, to where, I'm guessing this grove, because, quia, se persepe numa. Numa himself, per sepi means often, and per means very often. Sine arbitris, without any witnesses, arbiters, velut, as if he was inferabating to a congressum dia, so as if he was inferabating, so as if he was going in to have congress with the goddess, which would make that a dative. Sacravit the lucum carmensis. So he made sacred this lucum, this grove, to the Carmene. Quod, because ibi there, iarum. There was a council of them, that's genitive, there was a council of them with sua conjug, with his wife Ageria, and essent just means there was. Okay. So very often Numa would take himself into this grove as if he was going to have some sort of congress with the goddess, and he made sacred this grove to these people because there, he thought, I'm guessing, because there was a council with his wife there, the goddess. It's soli fide solemne institute. So he instituted the solemn rites of faith and I'm guessing this soli is of the sun, so that's why we have translations saying it was annual. Added sacrarium to this sacred rites. Flamines, these are a type of priests within the male, in the neuter they're blasts of wind. Biggest caro arcuate vihi issue. And he ordered vihi to be carried. Biggest means two horse. Caro is a chariot. Arcuato, it's in the ablative as well, so it's got an arch over it. Basically, arcuo is like rainbows and arches. So there's a covered arch over the top of the chariot with two horses. He ordered this, and menu ad digitos, and the hand, and in the hand, it's the ablative, as far as usqui, as far as the digitos. So in dealing with the hand, as far as the digits, which are fingers, they would be involuta. So they'd be wrapped up in something, clothing, I'm guessing. To facere rem divinem, to make the divine matters, which are usually sacrifices or whatever they're doing. Present participle, this will be signifying fidem, the loyalty to ten, they would be watched over. Signifying that trust or loyalty will be safeguarded or watched over. Sedemque, and the seat, eos, and I'm guessing this is fide, loyalty's seat, even would be sacratem, sacred, even index teres, in hands. And translations we see men's clasped hands, so I guess that's added if you really want it to be. Okay, so we're getting into some religious stuff. Multa ale, many other sacrificia, this is rites, loca, and places, faciendis, for making sacrifices. We have sacrificia for the rites and sacris for sacrifices. We see this is gerundives, they both have the is at the end. Quae, which we have a proper noun. Agios, the pontifexes, they're the high priest, they vocant, they call him Agios, and he dedicated. So he dedicated many other places and many other rites, it looks like, which the pontiffs called the, what do we call it in English? Agii, A-R-G-E-I. Omnium tamen, so nevertheless, the maximum, eos, the greatest of omnium, all of his operam, all of his works was tutela, which means safe, basically, per omne regni tempus, per takes the accusative. Omne is one of these adjectives that is is in male and female, and when we point out that the tempus is a neuter, it takes the e. So for all the times of his kingdom, of his kingship, hord minor, not less was the tutelar, the safety of peace, or was he watching over peace, than of his kingdom. So he wasn't any less of a mind for peace than of his actual kingdom that he ruled over. Ita, so thus, duo reges de inceps. De inceps is the adverb, means in turn, so you have one thing and then another, basically. So, alias, alia, so one took one way or one road. So illi bello and hic parque. So one took war, one took peace. You have these demonstrative pronouns, usually meaning the former and the later, or the first and the second. And they auxerunted, they increased the civitatem, the state. Romulus, we all remember him, he regnivited, so he ruled for septem and triginta enos. That's 37. Triginta is 30. And Numa, the other one who was in turn, de inceps, tres and quadrinta, which is like 43 in English. I don't know if it's inclusive counting or not. And it looks like a short chapter for today. Cum valida tum. We know the correlatives cum and tum, sometimes with the comparatives, here they're not. So we have valida and temperata. Et belli et paces artibus erat civita. So, and the civitas, which is the state, so it was strong, valida, and also tempered, basically, temperated. In the arts, artibus, then we have the genitives, both of war and of peace. So the state was strong and also Just remember how the correlatives go, and that's it for the day.